Welcome to another lesson on Lunch with the Lord. This is Pastor Mark, and we will be finishing our teaching on epaikes, Philippians chapter 4, verse 5. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of my heart. Now, as we saw last lesson, Paul here says, let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand. And that Greek word for moderation is epaikes. And it was also used in the New Testament for the words patient, gentle, clemency, gentleness. And God took this secular Greek word and he uses it in the New Testament to describe his character and how he is. And we saw that Aristotle said that epaikes is that which corrects the law when the law is deficient because of its generalities. And epaikes is different from akribadikaios. Akribadikaios. An akribadikaios man is a person who stands up for every jot and tittle of the law. You have to keep the law exactly right. Otherwise, you're whatever, condemned or fired or whatever happens. And if you don't keep it, you got to keep every single law. We get rid of you. But the epaikes person is a person who takes the law and uses it correctly, okay? The person who is epaikes knows when not to use the law. And he knows that if he knows when not to use the law because there's a drive within them that is higher and greater than the law. Yes, I have a right to do something. But should I? Should I? The epaikes person knows that to stand upon the law would be completely their legal right, but it would also be completely unchristian. Sometimes standing upon the law might actually become unchristian. It might actually be a poor representation of God. Epaikes always goes back to God. If God stood on his rights and applied the strict standards of the law, we would all be doomed. Right? If we had God set in the 10 Commandments, if God stood firm on those 10 Commandments, you know what? We'd all be headed towards a lake of fire. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. But God is the ultimate example of epaikes, and he wants us to deal with others using epaikes. Okay? You know, are you a boss? Are you a supervisor? You have children. Maybe you have a babysitter that comes, or whatever. Have you given epaikes to someone who, according to, let's say, company policies, should have been fired? Somebody at work, somebody that works for you, or somebody you see that works next to you. They do something wrong. And according to company policy, they should be fired immediately. But are they? You have a right. Do you have a right? Yeah, you have a right. You have laws to back you up. But the question is, should you? The akribadikaios man, oh, there's no doubt about it. You're definitely going unemployed. You're definitely getting fired. Oh, yeah. But the Epikes persons takes those laws, takes those rules, and he applies them when he needs to. And even though someone does commit an offense that should be fireable, maybe they shouldn't be fired. Okay? Zero tolerance for a company sounds good, but zero tolerance leaves no room for people who make mistakes. And you know what? Everybody will make a mistake eventually. And that you know, and that's the problem. Because if a company has zero tolerance, eventually every single person in that company will be fired and new people will have to come in. And eventually those new people, they will have to be fired. And more new people we brought. There will always be a revolving door of new people coming in. You know why? Because people make mistakes. Maybe they don't mean to. Maybe they don't want to. But they make mistakes. And they go against bylaw. And you can have a company. You can have all the rules you want. And you can try to take this sinful, wicked body and conform it to be perfect according to company standards or according to the house rules. You will do this, you will do that, and this is how we do this, and you have to do it exactly, or otherwise down the road, head to unemployment, right? But Epikes knows that people make mistakes, and there are times when the law needs to not be applied. Grace needs to be applied. And this is why God is the ultimate example of Epikes, because God has a right according to the law. If God stood on the law, we would all be doomed. But God, through his love and mercy, something higher than the law, love and mercy and grace came and died for us. Would you want the full letter of your company's laws to come down on you because you made a mistake after 5, maybe 10, maybe 20 years of faithful work, faithful service to that company? You made one mistake. Do you want the company's laws to come down on you? Probably not. You know what? That's what Epikes is. And I'm telling you, that's why you'll have Epikes on the front of a t-shirt. Somebody will come up, you'll have on your t-shirt, I love Epikes. Somebody will come up and say, what's Epikes? Beautiful witnessing tool. Tell them about how God had a right to doom me from law. Because of the laws of the Old Testament, God has a right to condemn me to a lake of fire forever and ever. But instead of condemning me, you know what he did? He came and he died for me. He came and he shed his blood. And he fulfilled the law for me so that I could spend eternity with him forever and ever. And he says here, let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand. Be known unto all men. Don't keep your Epikes to yourself. Use it on those around you. Use Epikes on your husband, on your wife, on your child. Your child comes home at 11 o'clock at night. You told him to be in at 9. Maybe they need Epikes tonight. Right? Co-workers, do they need Epikes? Yes, you have a right to apply the law, apply the policies of the work, of the house rules, but instead you choose to give grace, give mercy to that person. When someone makes a mistake, the first thing you'll want to do is to come down on them with the law, the laws of the house, the laws of the company, the laws of whatever, the country. But take a step back and evaluate the situation and trust God to exercise epiikes to that person. The Lord is at hand, meaning the overall idea that Paul is trying to impress on the Philippians is that we should be epiikes people to all people in our life, because we will have to stand before the Lord, and it may be sooner than later. You know what? We have to stand before the Lord, and God will look at us with his epiikes eyes, and he'll want to see, did we give epiikes to all men? Were we gracious, or did we implement the law? Get out of here. Go away. You broke our law. You failed. Right? Well, that's not what God did for us. He came and he gave us grace and died for us. Loves us. Cares for us. Maybe that's what that person needs. Some mercy. Some epiikes. Not akrabidikos. No. Epiikes. This is why we study. This is why I love studying the Word of God expositorily, to bring out the Word of God, to go into the Greek. Because just by simply reading this, let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand. You would never get this. The average person would have no idea. Let your moderation be known unto all men. Unless we study the Word of God, unless you hear messages like this, you have no idea what you're reading here. Oh, let your moderation. I guess that means just be nice to people, right? Oh, no. It's much more than that. It's epiikes. Let your reasonableness, your gentleness be given. When you have the right to apply the law, you step back, you evaluate the situation, and you say, you know what? I could fire that person, but I'm not going to. You know what? I could fire my babysitter, but I'm not going to. I could yell at my child for being home at 11 o'clock, but I'm not going to. You know what? I'm going to give epiikes in this situation. I'm going to give it to people. You know why? God gave it to me. God gave me epiikes, and that's why I'm giving it to others. And I believe, you know what? I believe you'll do that. All right? Until next lesson. Walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.